So, hi everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. For those of you that are in the U.S. on Eastern Time, and this evening for those of you that are abroad in Europe or in the UK. As you know, the topic today is creating safety and convenience in the in-store shopping experience. A quick intro on us and welcome. We are Qvalon, so we're a SaaS platform for managing operational processes. My name is Evan Madden-Peister. I am a business development manager here for the Qvalon team in the US. And then we also have a guest joining us who's Tim Chechi, who is a retail executive with fantastic experience in the space and is now a retail consultant, also based in the US, here in New York with me. So yeah, why are we here, right? We're here because the in-store shopping experience has obviously changed a lot over the years, and certainly with the COVID-19 reality, it's changed. And so, you know, as this image is kind of nodding at, we want to talk about creating the kind of white light best possible experience for consumers as they are increasingly re-entering stores, and as we move forward through this COVID-19 reality. So this is a topic, you know, that is top of mind for everyone. I think this is a fantastic image. You can see the social distancing, right? The 6 feet apart, and you can see shoppers waiting online to enter a store, right? So this is the reality, and it's top of mind for lots of people. Forbes is covering it, HBR is covering it, CMS Wire is covering it, and that's just a snippet. So this is an important topic and a relevant topic, and you know, we hope you guys enjoy the information you get today. Just quickly about our agenda. So, you know, we had a quick intro here to our speakers and to Qvalon, and we're going to have Tim speak, and he's going to speak a lot about his, you know, what I'm calling tales from the field, right? But this in-depth experience he's had in the retail industry and as a consultant. And we'll go through a little bit of just the overall picture of the COVID-19 retail reality. Quick look at, you know, what do customers value right now, right, in an in-store experience? What are some stores doing right now? And then what are the challenges and opportunities for retailers for in-store at this moment, and how does Qvalon fit into that? So I just want to, you know, give a quick intro to Tim. You can see his bio here. Tim has amazing experience as a retail executive with very big brands. You know, you can see everything from Saks to LVMH to Nike. He's worked at it as a consultant also, more recently with also some big and fantastic brands, including the NBA and National Geographic. And he teaches abroad. His experience and expertise in the space is very in-depth and covers many topic areas. And, you know, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim. Tim.
Or good afternoon. Unable to start the video, Dimitri.
I think we can, if you want to go ahead without it for the moment, and then we'll see if we can get you sharing rights to the video.
Sure. So I'm honored to share just a bit of retail information with you. As you can see from the slides, I've had a pretty broad range of experience, both with multi and mono brands in the mass market, as well as the luxury and fashion sphere. My consulting really focuses on customer experience, team development, as well as key special projects where I combine a couple of decades of experience plus a modern approach in achieving results. You can certainly learn more about that if interested at my website. But this morning, really as a backdrop for what we were going to talk about, I was just going to talk briefly about 3 focus areas that I think are really important to help provide a bit of a context of where we're at. One is just what's going on in the retail online landscape today, what the #1 priority is, which is the customer experience, and then what are some of the store operational requirements that set the groundwork and the foundation for the best customer experience. So to jump right in, the current retail landscape, retailers are under enormous pressure in several of the key areas, starting with the financial area, in terms of sales and expenses and where your return is coming in. Certainly the real estate piece is gigantic. Merchandise is also a huge issue. It's really a hot button right now as a subtopic in terms of where should the product be. Should it be in stores to get fulfilled online? Should it be in a distribution center? How do you deal with returns and processing? So the merchandising piece is huge, particularly in an omni-channel environment. The competition has sharpened. The markets are changing rapidly along with the demographics. There are shopping behaviors due to the fact that customers have more choice now than ever before. And these are all some of the critical factors in what's going on. In terms of online growth, pre-pandemic, the online e-commerce business was, depending which research you looked at, was somewhere between 15 to 18% of all US commerce. It's expected to basically double within the next 5 years. And that's notwithstanding the current circumstances, because there's certainly some key categories that have exceeded this percentage. But we'll see what goes the distance in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of the overall national average. But what this does underline in terms of what piece of the pie is online, the majority for the foreseeable future will still be in physical retail. I would also say that this is against a backdrop where we have a physical space correction that's going on that will take several years to pan out. Because stores are closing does not mean that people will not be shopping in physical environments. That is critical to understand. Within the space, and I would say now the smart spaces that are evolving, it's more about food, convenience goods, specialty, and surprise, surprise, web-based brands that want to be in physical environments, starting with Amazon, but there are many, many other examples out there where the brands understand that that's how you round out your relationship by having a physical space to go to. So my first point really is that retail is not going away. It is simply evolving, as it always has been, both during this pandemic period, during technology and the growth of e-commerce. The second point I wanted to share with you is just the vital understanding that customer experience is priority #1. No matter what kind of a brand, what kind of a retailer you are, whether you have 1 store or 1,000, the existence and the experience that a person has when they physically do come into your space matters. So part of what I put out up front, and it may seem like a non sequitur, but I'll give you this as a tip. Having a presence on your shop floor, wherever that is, matters. Where you can be close to your teams and close to your customer, you're going to understand what's needed, where things are working and where things aren't. So that is a really critical piece to understand, and there are no shortcuts. In my recent assignment with Nordstrom, I'll just provide 2 examples there. They're very customer-centric as an organization that's over 100 years old. They, when they launched into New York City, beyond a women's flagship that was several 100,000 feet, they also opened up 2 Nordstrom locals. And what I consider these are relationship centers. They're roughly 2,000 square feet each. There's one on the Upper East Side, one down in the Village. There are several of them in LA, and they're looking to open probably another 24 in the United States in key markets. And essentially, these are not necessarily stores. They're spaces where you can order online, try on what you've purchased with a fitting room. There's a tailor on the premises. You can meet a stylist. You can have a beverage. in the LA locations. You can get your nails done, and it's kid-friendly, dog-friendly, and it's just meant to enhance the relationship for however the customer chooses to shop. The other example within Nordstrom, which is now standard practice everywhere and touches upon the issue of safety and convenience. A few takeaways that we had going on starting in June when we opened the doors was just a few that I list here. And I'm not going to recite the specifics of each, but these are standards now in this COVID era. And it starts with making sure your internal teams feel safe and secure so they can project and exhibit that with the customers that are coming through the front door. And it runs through then the rest of what's on this list in terms of signage and distancing, curbside. I'll underline the importance of community engagement, that if you are a store or an establishment that's out there, you should be looking to your left and right and connecting with them to make sure there's a seamless experience for folks that are in your community or neighborhood. So my last point is really just on the store operations front. There are several requirements for making sure you have a great customer experience, and I'll just focus and cite two. One, it revolves around teams and the people that you've got working with you. And it starts with investing in them really well, making sure that you're following up with them, that they're executing well. And there are different profiles of retailers out there, as we know. When we were launching Gap in UK and Banana Republic, those were brands that had hundreds of stores where you had to have quick, swift training that was understandable and simple to execute. In the luxury fashion arena, at say a Barney's or Celine, you had far less doors, but you still had a brand where it was very relationship driven. So the training took a stance that revolved around some of the key behaviors that were coming from, from Paris. So I would just say on the team side, there's no shortcuts. There's got to be a level of consistency and sense of shared mission. The other area I would just highlight is leadership. It's really important for leaders to be able to physically have a presence and make their multi-store visits impactful, where you're taking in what's going on, but at the same time, taking good notes on how to support the folks that are working in the field. Communication's key, and the processes in those stores needs to be simple, swift, and efficient so you can maximize leadership and sales teams' time on the sales floor, as opposed to in the back stock or doing reports or filling out things that start to take away from driving a great customer experience, as well as driving sales and making sure expenses are in line. So I really conclude that, within the sphere of operations, you've really got to utilize the right tools. And there needs to be some smart software and a system in place that aids leadership in driving what the objectives are in terms of sales and service and profitability. So the efficiency and ease in which these programs and the software is used is important for leadership at all levels to understand what to work towards. So excuse my typo on that excellent. There should be two L's in there. But what I would say is, from my experience, Qvalon has developed some really excellent tools to be able to drive strong operational performance in physical retail stores. So with that, I hand it back off to Evan to kind of keep us going here.
Tim, thanks very much. And I think we're gonna build a lot on what Tim has already pointed out. And so, I think it's also a good segue into the kind of the COVID-19 retail reality and how that has made some changes both in the short term and in the long term. And what we see in the COVID-19 reality is these four pillars, right, of customer experience and in-store experience, right? One is omni-channel, and Tim talked about this, but obviously during the pandemic, there's been a shift to ordering online, even accelerated from where it was going before. And there's also kind of blended ordering happening now, right? Curbside pickups, these experience stores, as Tim was talking about. And so having this portion and this element to your business as a retailer is crucial. And it's going to continue to be crucial as the landscape continues to change and we see what changes, what customer trends and changes stick and what, sort of fade from the COVID-19 reality. The second one that Tim touched upon, and is obviously a hallmark of what we're talking about today, is safety. And that safety both for employees and for customers, right? So, the nitty gritty of that is a lot of what you've seen, right? It's social distancing, the availability of masks, the availability of sanitizers, the cleanliness of the store. Some of these, particularly cleanliness of store was an issue pre-COVID-19, but now it's even at a higher level of priority for customers. And as Tim alluded to, I think very importantly, and we'll see some interesting stats on this later, employee safety. Not just in the sense that this gives customers additional security, but also in the sense that people want to know right now that you care about your employees and that you're taking care of them. And I think that dovetails into this communication piece, which for the in-store experience is super important, right? Physical spaces have changed a lot of them. You see many people at, sort of gating the door, and the actual layout of stores has changed as a result of COVID-19. You can have less people in a store at one time, right? So customers need clear communication on how to navigate the store, what is where, how to get through checkout, what contactless and other payment options are available at checkout. And so there's the communication that comes from physical or digital signage, and there's communication that comes from your employees, and it's hypercritical. And the last piece is convenience. And again, this is also tied to the communication piece, and it's certainly tied to omnichannel and safety as well. Customers want a convenient experience. In general, people are less comfortable spending a longer amount of time in a store. So they want to be able to get what they want when they need it, and to be able to pay and leave kind of in their own time and in an efficient way. So communication ties into that in terms of the navigation, in terms of the checkout experience. The omni-channel portion of this ties into that, and safety ties into it in that sometimes it can work against the convenience or quick experience, but it's such an underpinning point of the foundation of this in-store shopping that it's absolutely crucial. So when we talk to safety, there's some fantastic study and surveys done by McKinsey. And you can see here from this stat, we're talking about 50% of respondents said they want stores to follow guidelines. And as we'll see later from some other stats, that's actually much higher. But the bottom line is that the vast majority of customers want to know that your store is following the safety guidelines and is meeting them and hopefully even exceeding them. I think that is an element that's appreciated when you take an extra measure to keep customers safe. In the same study, they took a look at stats in the US and UK in terms of what makes for a great in-store browsing experience right now in the COVID-19 reality. And again, we see the two big pillars here of convenience and safety are leading the way. Store easy to navigate, COVID-19 regulations followed. Those are the two biggest pillars, both in the US and UK. Slightly different emphasis depending on where you are, but you can see that this is what consumers want from their browsing experience. So when we get to a purchasing experience, which is the kind of ideal end goal for all retailers, right? We see the same trends, but again, you can see here, especially in the US, that the convenience portion and the omni-channel portion is taking a little bit of a higher evidence, right? Higher emphasis, excuse me. Fast checkout. right? So customers want to know that once they get there, they're not going to dawdle. They want to be able to move through, and that takes the form of some of this omni-channel experience that we're talking about, and I'll look at it in another slide, of contactless payments, pay ahead options, right? Customers want to know that you have this in place, that it's functioning, and that they can move out. And you see that also in the self-checkout portion, which is still extremely important. And of course, the COVID-19 regulations followed. Everybody wants to know this. An interesting consumer behavior that's popped up is that during the pandemic is that people are willing to switch or try out new brands, which is a good, can be good for many of you who are listening, especially if you're new or if you're just trying to win over new customers, which everybody is pretty much all the time, right? So availability of product was obviously super relevant, especially early on in the pandemic when supply chains were a little shaky. Things have settled in now, but availability is still relevant in that people don't want to go and not get what they want and then have to go somewhere else, right? Since they don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time shopping right now or a tremendous amount of time in store. So having your stock ready, and then convenience, right? Again, you can see the importance of this factor, and the importance of this factor not just in the in-store experience, but also in getting customers to try you out if they've never tried you out before. So this is a little bit more granular about omni-channel, but we think it's very interesting. You see these blue lines are indicating the growth since COVID-19 started. Mobile payments, mobile app orders, apps to scan barcodes, self-identification at the terminal. So you see, it's a lot to do here with the payment option and being able to move swiftly, efficiently, and contactlessly, right? So if that's not an element that you're incorporating right now, it's absolutely crucial to look into it and start building it into your experience, because all of the data that we're seeing indicates that people have adopted contactless, and the adoption rate is only going to increase from this point on. And I mentioned you guys before about employees and companies caring about how they treat their employees. So if you look at the US, of all the pieces they're studying, right? Hygienic packaging, retailers, sustainability, et cetera. The highest percentage category for the US was how companies take care of the safety of their employees. So consumers care about this. I think it's a human and psychological and emotional component where people want to know that companies care about the people that work for them. And the other portion of that is that they know that if their employees are taken care of, they're more likely to take care of their customers. So this is an extremely crucial component to build into your in-store experience if you're not already, and into your company more broadly. So, we looked at kind of the reality, and now we'll look at a little bit of the stats that are good news, especially for in-store. So, good news, like back to business, people are starting to return to non-essential shopping. That's 49% of people said they're willing. Essential shopping is and has been more or less grocery, pharma, and some household goods. And now people are returning to non-essential shopping. So there's every indication that more people are going to be coming back to stores. And on that note, here you go, right? 71% of global consumers say they're comfortable going back to physical stores as the lockdowns ease, and 67 of them already have, right, for non-essential stores. So, nobody can predict exactly how the next, say, quarter or 2 quarters or 3 quarters are going to go, especially as it relates to the COVID-19 situation. But the indication is that as things improve, people will return to stores and return to non-essential shopping. So customers will be there for you and they will want to have an in-store experience. So this is, reinforcing the value of safety, right? Um, as those people come back to shopping and come back to the in-store experience, the value of safety measures is critical, as we've mentioned before. And you can see here from this, sort of overwhelming statistic, 80% of consumers feel reassured, right, from safety measures. And some of those safety measures are masks, available sanitizers, screening, temperature taking, and cashless payments, although there are obviously others, and we'll look at a couple others later. But this is the biggest number that we have, and it's absolutely critical to making people feel comfortable coming into your store, right? And the most important one, just so in case we all didn't know, is requiring all visitors to wear masks. So if you're gonna do one thing and do it really well, this is the thing you need to do. But it's absolutely foundational to having people have a safe experience and keeping everybody safe. And then, in-store shopping still matters. And why does it matter? Because people still largely prefer the ability to touch, to feel, or to try a product on in store. That is, as Tim mentioned, with these sort of relationship centers that Nordstrom has, that can be a bit of a blended experience, right? Where people kind of order ahead and then they try on in the store, or pick up and browse in the store. But the point is that people care about in-store shopping. And as Tim so rightly pointed out, it's not going anywhere. It's just evolving. So we wanted to look at what does all of this mean for a retailer, for you as a retailer, in terms of the actual measures and processes that you need to put in place, that you already have put in place, and that you need to maintain. And this is an example from Target of what they're doing, right? They're cleaning more. They have masks both available to shoppers and required, of course. They have that clear communication point of reminders for social distancing. They're monitoring guests and measuring temperatures, right? So a certain amount of people in a store. Early on, they're setting quantity limits on in-demand items. We still might see some of that. The shields for safety at checkout. And I think this is a fantastic measure, really showing that they care and that they're thinking about vulnerable population, is giving them dedicated shopping hours, right? And increased sanitization for carts and baskets. So you can see that they've thought about this, and they put the processes and the tasks in place, and they're communicating it to their customers because they know that the customer cares about this and that they need to see it in action. And as we're talking about see it in action, if you think about retail reality prior to COVID-19, of which there are many day-to-day tasks for at the store level, at the city level, at the regional level, at national or international level. Now we're adding on an additional layer of complexity and layer of responsibility. So what does all of this mean? It means that operations management has gotten more demanding and more complex. And at the same time, it's absolutely crucial that these, as we've made the case, right, that these safety measures, that these convenience measures are executed day in, day out, and executed correctly, because this is what is going to keep people shopping in store. So the need is there and the mandate is there, and yet it puts a greater strain on the operations systems of any given company. And we really think that that's where Qvalon comes in. And I'll give you a quick intro to Qvalon and sort of how we work. So Qvalon is a cloud service, a SaaS platform for managing standards and processes, employees, and providing you resources to hit those OKRs and KPIs. Here we have some typical pain points, and I think that Tim touched upon some of this in what he was talking about, right? Gaps between HQ and stores. So the importance of having some kind of presence in your store if you're a regional manager of a retailer that has, 700 stores in a region, impossible to be at all of them. So how do you get there? The implementation of standards and training, again, Tim was talking about that difference between, say, GAP and LVMH, right? But we find that a problem is that, people often put their own interpretations of standards, and reading instructions is long and laborious, right? So you also have to deal with staff rotation and training. And now we put new rules and standards implementation from COVID-19, also could be strategy deviation, but this sort of plays into all of the above, right? In our experience, we've been able to influence and increase revenue 5% with our clients, increase employee efficiency, and then another crucial component of this platform is that it's transparent across the whole business. Quick about us: more than 5 years on the market, we're in more than 30,000 stores. We have more than 60,000 user accounts, and we have more than 2 million inspections done monthly. And I'll explain a little bit more of what that means. And you can see over here some of our bigger clients that are international companies and also have presence in the US and UK: Burger King, Amway, X5 Retail, Billa. So we've worked with and continue to work with very, very large companies and also some smaller businesses. It's relevant for both. So when we talk about inspection, I'll explain a little bit more of how that works. We have a function in the app, which is a checklist. And basically what that means, if we take it just at the store level, on any given day, a manager has, and a manager and employees has a set of tasks that they need to execute, right, to maintain store. This could be around merchandising. In the COVID-19 reality, we're talking about cleanliness, we're talking about masks, we're talking about clear signage, social distancing. Are the screens clean at checkout? So there's a whole nother layer of tasks, right? So we found that the easiest way to implement these tasks is checklists. And what we have in the app and on the platform is checklists that people can execute right on their phone. So when you're talking about those day in lists that need to get maintained, we put it all in one place and you get automatic visibility. That's all the way from the store level up to regional, national, international. Everyone can see what's happening and how well things are being executed day to day. And this can replace sort of whatever systems you're using, whether it's spreadsheet, whether it's a portion of an ERP, whether people are doing it by hand. This is obviously more efficient and more visible. And then there's also visibility into staff, and that can include staff safety measures and how well people are maintaining and being taken care of. Do they have enough? Do employees have enough of what they need to stay safe and execute day in, day out? So yeah, we like to say, Qvalon creates an entire Kaizen ecosystem. And really where the start is in this quality assurance. So, I mentioned to you checklists, which are sort of the foundation. There's also an analytics layer that as you keep putting data and reports and checklists into the platform, you can see and analyze how well things are performing. And then crucially, especially for people who deal with merchandising, we have a photo reports, and then we have a task management platform. And then, the other piece is the staff efficiency, which is, time tracking, right? The needs, as I spoke to, safety and otherwise of certain personnel and shift exchanges. And so we get some really we get some really great results of this, not the least of this portion, this foundational portion, is sales increase, and you get this transparency. And we often find this also saves money on payroll. So it brings a tremendous amount of efficiency into the business. Later on, as we work with customers, we start to dive into these other areas of boosting sales, of brand perception and measuring that through different platforms of customer feedback, tech innovations, and guidance, right? And so in the end, our goal here is to grow sales, get more efficient operationally in terms of staff hours, increase NPS, budget and optimize correctly. And, again, foundational part of this is transparency and being able to see it in real time. Here's a bit about, photo reports and a quick example of, you can see how it works in the application. But in practice, if you just think about it, is if you have a display that's supposed to be set up a certain way, you show the staff. Now you can take a picture of it, and that becomes the standard. Then day in, day out, as people are doing reports, they can do pictures to show, is it at the standard or is it not, right? And so this is a real way to maintain and have that, have some presence on the floor, as Tim was talking about, even when a manager can't be there. And then you get to see that at scale across the organization. On the staff efficiency point, I went over a little bit of this, but certainly measuring shift exchanges, the time tracking, right? When are people coming in and leaving, seeing how efficient that is. And then you can also measure, is your staffing appropriate for the number of clients you're coming in? So that's an analytics component of this efficiency function. And as we're talking about analytics, we think that this is a real differentiator. So as you start to use the system and put more pieces in place, and we think this is just as relevant in the COVID reality, and you're putting more data into the system. So say you have a new set of health and safety measures you put in, you can look at over time how effectively this is being executed and how effectively it's being executed, again, at the different levels of the business: store, city, region, nationally or internationally. And that way you can measure, and you can measure against those KPIs that are set. Surveys are another form of reporting that we have, and we like this because it's a little bit more qualitative. And I think that's especially relevant as we're talking about new safety and convenience measures implemented during COVID-19, or even trying out a new omni-channel measure, like you try out curbside pickup. You can get qualitative feedback on this from your employees, and it can also be used as a qualitative interface for evaluation of staff performance. This is the latter sort of customer-facing part of it, right? But it's getting feedback from Google Maps, from marketplaces, from social networks, from different reviews, Yelp, etc. Right? And so it's an easy way to pinpoint what's happening in the business from a customer-facing standpoint, and also to get to understand that those customer needs a little bit more. And we think that's super, super crucial. Obviously, going back to what Tim is talking about, about being customer-centric, and having customer experience as the #1 priority, but also right now to really be listening to people and your customers during this COVID-19 reality is absolutely crucial. And so, yeah, we'll just wrap up. This is a visual of kind of, the issues that Qvalon can address, and it's the visual representation of that, right? So here on the left-hand screen, you have like a price mismatch, maybe from what's displayed into what's in your system. We found this to be a big no-no at checkout, and something that really damages customer trust. Over here is a misplaced item. Here's something out of stock. Here you need replenishing. So this is a visual representation of the kinds of issues that all get put into the Qvalon system and measured, and that you can see in real time. So with that, uh, we're gonna wrap up, and we'd love to take any questions that any of you guys have about what we've presented, um, about safety and convenience in the COVID-19 reality, and about Qvalon. Thank you.